There comes a moment, quiet, unexpected, when something deep inside you stirs. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or lightning. It arrives in stillness, like a breath you didn't know you were holding. Maybe it happens the moment your eyes meet someone else's for the first time, or in the silence after a dream that lingers longer than it should. It's not loud, but it's unmistakable. A subtle ignition, a knowing, a spark. It feels like life just shifted, like reality blinked and came back, different. You can't explain it, not really, not with words that others would understand. But something ancient wakes up, something sacred, and it whispers, "Pay attention, this matters." That is the beginning of the spiritual awakening, the very first step on the twin flame journey. And while it may look ordinary from the outside, within you, everything is changing. You're not just meeting someone, you're remembering them. You're not just feeling something, you're being called. And that call doesn't come from your mind. It comes from the soul, from a place beyond time, beyond logic, beyond reason. It comes with the weight of lifetimes and the lightness of finally being found. And when it hits, you feel it everywhere. You may feel confused, overwhelmed, even terrified, but you also feel alive, as if every heartbeat suddenly has a purpose, every breath a meaning, and you begin to sense that your life is not random, that it never was. This is the mystery of the awakening. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It just arrives, and once it does, there is no going back. Because once your soul begins to remember, the forgetting starts to fade. You'll start to question what you thought was real, and you'll begin to sense there's more, much more, waiting just beyond the veil. And that, right there, is the doorway, the one you didn't even know you were standing in front of, until the moment something inside you whispered, "Wake up." It's strange, isn't it? How someone can enter your life and feel like they've always been there. Not in a logical way, not in a way you can prove, but in a way that makes your soul go still, like it's listening, really listening, for the first time in ages. You look at them, maybe for the very first time, and something ancient stirs inside you. Not attraction, not infatuation, recognition. A soft inner voice speaks, not with words, but with resonance. You already know them. And just like that, time folds in on itself. Your past, your present, your future, suddenly they feel like echoes of the same moment. You're not meeting this person. You're remembering them. The feeling is undeniable. It doesn't come from the mind. It bypasses thought entirely. It hits in your chest, in your bones, in your energy, as if your soul was waiting for this precise frequency to appear, to unlock something that had been dormant for lifetimes. You might smile and not know why. You might cry and not understand what for. You feel safe and vulnerable at the same time, drawn in and pushed open. Everything inside you whispers, "I know you. I've missed you. Where have you been?" And yet, you've never met before. That's the paradox, that's the power. It's the soul stepping forward, gently pushing the mind aside. And in that instant, you know that this connection is different, not because of what's said or done, but because of what's felt. You start to sense things you've never been taught. You feel like you can read their energy, even when no words are spoken. You finish each other's thoughts. You feel their emotions as if they were your own. And no matter how far apart you are, there's a string that pulls, gently but persistently. This moment of recognition is not about romance, though that may come later. It's about the remembrance of truth, the unspoken acknowledgement that your souls have danced before, somewhere beyond the reach of memory, but not beyond the reach of feeling. And this realization doesn't fade. In fact, it deepens. It begins to haunt your dreams, your meditations, your quiet moments, not as a disturbance, but as a calling. Because when the soul whispers, it doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it simply reveals. And from that moment on, nothing is ever quite the same. You can try to ignore it. You can try to reason your way out of it. But the knowing remains, like a flame that doesn't burn the skin, but sets the heart on fire. And somewhere deep inside, a truth takes root. You didn't just meet them, you remembered them. There comes a moment in your awakening where logic begins to lose its grip. You've lived your life following patterns, doing what made sense, what felt safe, what was expected. You've learned to rely on reason, on strategy, on thinking things through. It kept you grounded. It gave you a sense of control. But now, something else is speaking. Something bigger, something deeper, something louder than your thoughts, and it's not asking for your permission. Suddenly, you start seeing signs, repeating numbers on clocks, lyrics that speak directly to your soul, dreams that feel more real than your waking life, moments of intense déjà vu that leave you breathless. You feel watched, not in a fearful way, but as if the universe itself is leaning closer, whispering, "Pay attention." And your mind can't keep up. It tries to explain it away. Coincidence, fantasy, imagination. But inside, something resists that explanation. Because the truth is, you feel it. You feel the pull, the messages, the alignment. You feel the unmistakable knowing that something sacred is unfolding. That's when you realize the mind is not in charge anymore. Not because it failed, but because it was never meant to lead the soul. In this phase of your journey, you begin to feel torn between what makes sense and what feels right. Between the path you were building and the path that's being revealed, it's terrifying and liberating. Because the universe doesn't speak in sentences, it speaks in symbols, in sensation, in subtle but undeniable nudges. And the deeper you listen, the more it speaks. Maybe you suddenly feel the urge to reach out to someone you've only met once. Maybe you walk away from something that once felt solid, with no clear plan ahead. Maybe you change your entire course because something inside just says, "This isn't it." People around you might not understand. They'll ask, "Why now? Why them? Why would you do that?" And you won't have the answers they want. Because your mind doesn't know, but your soul does. And that's enough. When the universe speaks louder than the mind, it doesn't scream, it aligns. It puts the right person in front of you at the right time. It creates a pause in traffic, so you notice a message on a billboard. It places a song in your ears that brings tears you didn't expect. It moves through time and space to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Look again." You begin to see how nothing is random, that everything has meaning, even the things that once felt like mistakes. This is where surrender begins, not as weakness, but as wisdom. The wisdom to trust something you cannot explain. The courage to follow what you feel, not just what you know. And the humility to accept that the universe may have a better plan than the one you were trying to control. This is the soul's language, and once you learn how to hear it, your entire world shifts. Because when the universe speaks louder than the mind, you stop asking, "Why me?" and begin asking, "What now?" You stop searching for signs and become the sign. You stop doubting your path and start living it. And in that moment, you become something more than a thinker, more than a seeker. You become someone who remembers, not with your head, but with your soul. There's a call that doesn't come through your phone. It doesn't ring in your ears or flash across a screen. It rises quietly, from within, from the deepest part of you. And once it awakens, there's no turning it off. This is the call that comes after the recognition. After that moment when your soul remembers someone it was never supposed to forget. It's not a voice you hear, it's a pull. A magnetic current that runs through your chest, tugging you forward, even when you don't know where it's leading. You try to brush it aside, to file it away as a passing feeling, but it lingers. It keeps tapping on the inside of your heart, whispering things like, "There's more. Look deeper. Wake up." And the more you try to ignore it, the louder it gets. This call doesn't come from desperation or fantasy. It comes from memory, soul memory. It's the part of you that remembers your path, your truth, your purpose, even when your conscious mind does not. And now that it's been triggered, nothing feels quite the same. The life you've built may start to feel too small. Conversations that once satisfied you now feel empty. Old habits lose their flavor. Your soul is hungry, and only truth can feed it. And truth begins with the acknowledgement that you can't unfeel what you've felt. You can't unknow what you now know. This connection, this awakening, it's not just emotional, it's transformational. You begin to realize that this person you met, they didn't just show up in your life, they arrived to activate something, to shake your foundation so that you could build something real. And that activation, it's the call to heal, the call to grow, the call to remember who you really are beneath the stories, fears, and masks. At first, it feels like a whisper, then a roar, not because it wants to overwhelm you, but because it wants to wake you. And the longer you resist it, the more restless you become. Not because the path is wrong, but because your soul knows it's time. Time to follow that pull. Time to stop running from yourself. Time to say yes. Yes to the unknown. Yes to the transformation. Yes to the version of you that is waiting on the other side of awakening. Because this is not just a love story, it's a soul story. And when the soul calls, it's not asking for permission, it's asking for presence. So if you feel it, don't ignore it. Don't bury it under logic or fear. Because this call, this sacred, persistent, unstoppable call, is how your soul says, "Come home." It starts quietly, like a gentle restlessness under your skin. You wake up one morning and things just feel different, not wrong exactly, just misaligned. You look around at your life, your job, your relationships, your routines, and something inside you whispers, "This isn't it anymore." You can't explain it, nothing dramatic has happened, but your soul is stirring, nudging, pushing you forward with a force you don't fully understand. This is what happens after the awakening, after that sacred recognition, when the presence of your twin flame cracks open something ancient inside of you. That spark doesn't just stay in your heart, it spreads. Suddenly, the life you were once content with starts to feel too small, too scripted, too safe. And here's the part no one warns you about. You may not have the words for it. You may not have a plan. But the impulse to change, to transform, is undeniable. You start wanting to clear out your space, to walk away from draining conversations, to stop pretending, stop shrinking, stop playing roles that never truly fit you. You're not running from life. You're running toward your truth. Even if you can't see it clearly yet, this urge doesn't come from ego or rebellion. It comes from alignment, from a deep, sacred knowing that the path you were on is no longer the path that leads you home. And yes, It's terrifying. You might question your sanity. You might wonder if you're being irresponsible, irrational, impulsive. But your soul doesn't care about should or normal. It cares about truth. And once it starts guiding you, the only real mistake is trying to pretend you didn't hear it. This is when many begin making changes that don't make sense to the outside world. Leaving jobs, ending relationships, moving cities, starting spiritual practices they never thought they'd be drawn to. It's not about escape, it's about becoming. Because something inside you knows you can't go back to sleep now. You can't unfeel the truth. You can't unknow the calling. And so you begin to follow it, step by step, breath by breath, even without clarity, even without a roadmap, even when it scares you. That's the power of this stage, the sacred chaos before rebirth, the wild, holy unraveling that makes room for something real. You don't need to understand why. You only need to trust what's rising, because what feels like a breakdown is really your breakthrough. You felt the spark. You recognized the soul. Something shifted inside you, and there's no going back. But now, you're standing in unfamiliar territory. There's no manual, no clear path, no voice from the sky telling you what to do next. You've awakened. But what now? This is the in-between, the space after the lightning strike, before the clarity. You're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. And that space, it's sacred, but it's also uncomfortable. You may feel raw, exposed, even a little lost. Your emotions are louder. Your thoughts race. One moment, you feel peace like you've never known. And the next, you feel fear gripping your chest. This is normal, because awakening doesn't bring instant answers. It brings the invitation to go deeper. Now that your soul has stirred, it wants to lead. But to do that, it needs space. It needs silence, stillness, honesty. So the question becomes, are you willing to sit in the unknown? Are you willing to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart? Are you willing to let go of the need to understand everything right now? Because this part of the journey, it's not about doing, it's about being. It's about allowing, letting the feelings come, letting the questions rise, letting yourself unfold without rushing to define what's happening. You might feel called to meditate, to journal, to walk in nature, to disconnect from noise and reconnect with your own energy. You might feel moments of doubt. Was this real? And yet, something deeper always responds. Yes, because once you've awakened, the soul begins its work. You'll notice your intuition growing sharper. You'll feel more sensitive to energy, to truth, to what aligns and what doesn't. The world around you may not make sense the way it used to. You might not fit where you once did. But that's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of growth. This phase is about integration, about taking the spiritual and anchoring it into your human experience. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet shift in how you see yourself. Other times, it's a sudden urge to walk away from what no longer resonates. But no matter how it unfolds, know this. You are not alone, you are not crazy, and you are not broken. You're just waking up to something bigger than you were taught to believe. And the truth is, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep saying yes. Yes to presence, yes to curiosity, yes to the unfolding of your soul. Because awakening isn't the end of your journey. It's the moment you finally begin to live it. There's a moment, quiet, sacred, when your soul whispers a word that changes everything. Yes, not to another person, not to a specific outcome, but to yourself, to your path, to the truth you can no longer unfeel. And once your soul says yes, something shifts forever. You're no longer trying to return to who you were, because that version of you, while beautiful, has outgrown its form. You've cracked open, softened, expanded. You've tasted a deeper reality. And now, nothing else will do. This is what most people never understand about awakening. It's not a single moment, it's a point of no return. You see through illusions more easily. You sense when something is out of alignment. You feel when energy is off, when a no is really a not yet, and when a yes is a full-bodied, soul-led knowing. You stop chasing things that drain you. You start choosing what nourishes you, even when it doesn't make sense on paper. You're guided by something ancient, something sacred, something real. That yes isn't loud or dramatic. It's not about shouting from mountaintops. It's about honoring the quiet decisions, the ones where you choose love over fear, trust over doubt, alignment over approval. And it's in those choices that everything changes, because now you're living with intention. You're moving with purpose. You're no longer asleep in your own life. You know you're not here by accident. You feel the connection. You honor the journey. And even if the road ahead is uncertain, you trust that your soul knows the way. This isn't the end of your story. It's the moment the real story begins. Because once your soul says yes, life stops being something that happens to you and becomes something that happens through you. You become a vessel for truth, for love, for awakening, and no, you will never be the same again. But that's the point, because who you are becoming is who you were always meant to be. If something inside you stirred while watching this, don't let it fade. Hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and join this growing soul family. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to awaken. Share your moment of awakening in the comments. Your story matters.